Thanks, panel, for joining us here today. And I want to kind of follow on with Ranking Member Velasquez's inquiry as far as, the type of metrics that we can use for evaluative criteria, because, one of the things we want to see is a level type of playing field out there. So what I would put out to the panel as a question is, what things other than just commercialization, what are some other good evaluative criteria that kind of gives everyone that semblance of a level playing field so they can apply for these grants? Recommendations.
As I excuse me, as I talked about in my testimony, what I call the triple bottom line. Not only when the agencies look at the companies, are these guys going to be successful? Are they going to drive job growth? Is there going to be some return to the taxpayers? If they go beyond that and look for the next two bottom lines, are they there? Is there an additional public access? Is there additional public benefit? In my business, I talk about this stimulus package because we're taking trash and turning it into cash. But there's lots of things in lots of these businesses that do things other than just driving jobs growth. And then the third one that I like to use is what's the hot issue of the day that we're all wrestling with, and in our issue, it's the environment, right? So if you can find companies that can provide environmental benefit or other type of things that provide better, greater good than just pure capitalization and pure commercialization, I think those are all things that should be looked at in the process, and I don't think they're looked at that much today.
If I could, yes, I think that I guess the question would be, how would you find metrics to measure success? And you have the goals are fairly clearly stated: stimulate technological innovation. And part of that is doing good research and development. And that's measured by peer-reviewed publications in journals. It's measured by participating meeting. It's measured by other researchers in the field or other developers in the field adopting the technologies that you've developed under SBIR. And those are definitely quantifiable. Whether meeting Federal agency needs. I mean, the question there is, have any of the agencies adopted the technologies, and are they supporting it for transition to the field? And that's also quantifiable. And it's an important part of the SBIR program. And hopefully the support for that would be enhanced, and then measurement of it is also important. Increasing commercialization is what we've mostly been working, the community has mostly been working on in terms of quantifying it. And I think by those standards, RMD has been very successful in all three of those. The fourth issue of fostering and encouraging participation of minority is I mean, it's a demographics question in terms of measuring it. And I think one of the things that can be done to improve that is the FAST program, Federal and State Technology Partnership Program, and other outreach programs like that. And several years ago, the NIH was very active in trying to do outreach, and I think NASA has done some outreach. But I think first of all, the people who potentially could apply for it have to understand the program. They need help in preparing proposals and understanding what a reviewer needs to see. And the SBTC and I myself have mentored small companies to try to help them participate in the program. So we need to educate and reach out to these companies.
If I could just add, in the biomedical area where so many promising ideas do fail, I think it's important to not use SBI as an SBIR measurement only whether a successful product came out of this, because again, we would prefer that result, but in the biomedical field, learning that something appeared promising and doesn't work and educating other researchers about that is still a lower level of success, and high-risk projects should be supported by SBIR.
Mr. West, your colleague, Mr. Barletta, in an earlier question, raised or mentioned the example of Silicon Valley as not only the leader of SBIR awards, but more importantly, the most innovative place in the world. People say, scholars say, oh, the birth of Silicon Valley came from a company named Fairchild. Fairchild failed. It never really came up with, it was a semiconductor company, it never really succeeded. But out of Fairchild, one of the founders, Gordon Moore, founded Intel, and the rest is history for Intel, but also for Silicon Valley. I think that illustrates exactly your point, Ms. Rick, that it certainly makes evaluating the SBIR program challenging, because it's hard for me to say Fairchild was a failure, maybe to the stockholders, but not to Silicon Valley, not to the United States.
Thank you very much. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.